Hello, 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 and welcome to this week's edition of Anchor Watch with Bobby Jones. I am your humbled host, Bobby Jones, and a lot to talk about. Just to give you an overview, what the opening salvo is going to look like. So, we're going to talk about two major issues that I want to dive a little bit in depth with this week. So, the first one is going to be Gaza, but specifically what the ramifications of this conflict is, what it means to the people who are actually trying to live and survive there. Then we're going to turn domestically on something that is happening that is very egregious as far as I'm concerned, as far as the midterm elections. So let's get started. I want to start with the conflict in Gaza. If you have not been paying attention to the New York Times and some of the articles that have come out this week, I just want to bring you up to speed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he wants a full occupation of the Gaza Strip, and the IDF as pressing hard and pressing forward. Now, this has come out with internal turmoil within his political structure, firing various people, etc. But the photos that have come out, specifically from the New York Times, of emaciated young people starving to death, literally, and then people saying, "Well, that person was already sick." You're missing the point. What you have are human rights violations. Period. Period. The United Nations made a point to talk about this in the aftermath of World War II, and we're seeing it ironically being exploited by the government of Israel. People are starving and people are dying. And so there has been this embargo against journalists going into the area with Israeli Defense Forces. They've been very, 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 very close hold with pictures. It's been hard to get video out, but it's starting to come out in various clips. I want to bring one up just so you can understand the totality of the destruction that is currently happening in that part of the world. This is an ITV report. This is them trying to drop aid, which has been denied, and people being slaughtered seeking aid in Gaza. So if we can bring that video up.
Building by building, Gaza is being erased. Cities like broken skeletons laid waste by war. Graveyards of life and lives. The streets, homes and coffee houses of old, now cast to the ground. The soul of this place, along with the souls who lived here, brought to ruin in the rubble and dust. Israel bans foreign journalists from entering Gaza. 15,000 feet above is the closest we get to seeing for ourselves the consequences of the war it is waging here. When we joined an airdrop last week, we were told Israel didn't want images from above being filmed or shown.
So, as you can see, a place that used to be vibrant, that actually had a lot of greenery, a place teeming with life, looks like something from an apocalyptic wasteland. I mean, I am not one to shy away from the realities of armed conflict, war. I mean, 20 years, 22 years in the Navy, global war on terrorism. Trust me, I understand that there are certain realities. But I also understand that there are rules. There are rules to this. There are rules that set up people who are trying to evade the conflict, people who are trying to survive, who have nothing to do with the actual conflict. There are laws, international laws, that are written on their behalf. We're seeing children starve. We're seeing the complete infrastructure of Gaza wiped out. And in my mind, I think it is very safe to say one of the reasons that Benjamin Netanyahu wants to occupy the entire area now is he's going to try to cover up those war crimes. Because make no mistake, they are crimes. I've seen various reports from doctors who have returned from rendering aid to these people. One doctor, she was on Breaking Points this past week, specifically talked about how each day there seemed to be a different targeting of the IDF against the Palestinians there. And they were like, what do you mean? Like one day it would be wounds that were all in the legs, like they shot at the legs. And then one day these people would be shot in the torso, the people that were being brought in. And then another day they'd be shot in the head. It was like they were taking target practice. And we've seen these reports. And what's interesting to me is Netanyahu does not seem the least bit concerned about the long-term ramifications. Now, he is talking about, the propaganda that's being levied against him specifically. He's been on podcasts that he's paid off to try to softball and soften the image. But here's the reality. The world is sophisticated enough to separate the Jewish people from the government of Israel and to separate Hamas from the people of Palestine. And they are not pleased. You had the motion here recently in our own Congress where the Senate Democrats for the first time voted a majority not to give additional weapons and aid to Israel. And it's interesting, some of the Democrats purposely skipped the vote because they don't want to be on record. But the reality is you cannot continue to tolerate this. The world is saying that. You have Canada, France, all of these countries now who are going to recognize the Palestinian state, which is a huge, huge deal. It's a departure from what America and its allies have historically done. But do you want to know why they're doing it? They're doing it simply because they cannot continue to watch this. And if you recognize Palestine and that area, Gaza, as a state, now international protections will have way more weight. Now Israel has to recalculate what they're doing. What I don't understand is until, Netanyahu said what he said this week about occupying all of Gaza, I couldn't understand what the end state was. In the military, when you take military action, you have to have a desired end state, a goal, a set. America learned that the hard way in both Vietnam and Afghanistan. So it is now emblazoned in militaries around the world that when you take action, you have a desired end state. Once you get to that desired end state, the action stops. No one can tell me what Israel's end state is supposed to be. No one. This whole thing started in retaliation to the October 7th attacks, which now seem like a lifetime ago. A lifetime ago. And what's happened is you have desolation, decimation, and no end in sight. No end in sight. The fact that the world is having to negotiate with the IDF to get aid in there is terrible. It's tragic and it's unacceptable. And the United States Congress, and I said Congress, is going to have to make a decision. And when I get into this week's American Civics lesson, you'll see why I'm saying Congress. So moving on from international now to domestic. President Trump called the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, and had a demand. He wants Texas to redistrict itself so that there are 5 additional congressional seats that could lean Republican at the midterm election. Why? Because President Trump remembers what it was like when the House was not in his favor. He got impeached twice. So he is trying to stack the deck. This is pretty unprecedented in modern American history to the scope that we're talking. So the Democratic members of the Texas House left. They left the state in order to stop a session from being held to redistrict and redraw these lines. And make no mistake, I'm going to give everybody on my live stream one guess at which districts are being targeted. Do you think they're majority white or something else? Newsflash, they're all black and brown districts that they want to just eat up alive and basically reduce representation through gerrymandering. And the fact that Abbott is sitting there saying, well, I'll arrest these people and make them come back. That's some baby Hitler type crap that honestly, he doesn't have the authority to do even under their constitution. But I want to show you what Representative Jelana Jones, who is in Texas, how she puts it, because she is not playing. So can we roll that clip?
Part of my practice is criminal defense work. There is no felony in the Texas Penal Code for what he says. So respectfully, he's making up some shit, okay? he's trying to get sound bites, and he has no legal mechanism. And if he did, subpoenas from Texas don't work in New York, so he's gonna come get us how? Subpoenas in Texas don't work in Chicago. He's gonna come get us how? So let me be clear. He's putting up smoke and mirrors, and I'm hopeful that the media doesn't follow that. I will also say this. I was on the redistricting committee. I sat in on the meetings. We had 3 sham hearings with no maps, where people were forced to testify that they were neutral on the maps because of our processes, when actually, I would say about 99.9% of the people were against it. So they set it up. So when the litigation happens, because it's going to happen, trust and believe, right? That there will be testimony saying that everybody was neutral on it, which is, excuse my French, a damn lie. Then, when they got the map on Wednesday, and let me be clear, it was the worst kept secret in Texas. I was on the redistricting committee, and I was wondering in January, why I'm on the redistricting committee? I mean, it ain't a redistricting year. And we didn't meet once, right? But this was always the backup plan, always. I sat in on the hearings. It was a joke. The chair of the redistricting committee, Cody Vasut, is a lawyer. In the legislature, he is the expert on points of order. He knows the law. Cody pays attention to detail. During the redistricting committee meetings, well, I hadn't looked at anything. I don't know. I ain't seen no maps. Yeah, whatever you say. So you peeing on me and you telling me it's raining and you expect me to believe it. Wrong answer. When they finally had the one public hearing with the map, and the secret was out. The stuff is going to get filed on Wednesday, and we're going to have a marathon hearing on Friday, is what they said. The plan was filed on Wednesday, and they had a 10-hour meeting on Friday. And the thing that was the most offensive to me as a person who went to these and asked questions about these, and let me be clear, the districts that are targeted overwhelmingly are black districts, okay? They are pitting Jasmine Crockett against Mark Vesey, and they are pitting Al Green against CD18, where there's a black representative. If you don't know who sat in CD18, I live in CD18, by the way. Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvester Turner. So those are the people they're trying to take out. So I'm real upset about it, and my constituents are real upset about it. But it's really interesting that the map person who says that some law firm drafted the maps and he don't know that much about the maps, I felt like I was in a bad edition of an episode of White Man's Burden. For the most part, he told us, grown people, speaking to us as if we were kids, said to us, you need to be happy. We didn't have to give you any hearings in the first place, and we know what's best for you. Well, I respectfully submit that they don't know what's best for us. They do not know what's best for us. And let me also be clear. My constituents demanded that I be here. So you think I'm going to listen to Donald Trump and Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick and the Attorney General, who can't treat his wife right and who lies on documentation? So I think he needs to worry about going to jail. But my point is this. We, the Democratic contingent, we are paying attention to what our constituents are demanding of us. They've literally told us, if you don't quorum break, we will primary you. That's how important it is. People wonder, why should New York be concerned about what's going on in Texas? Why should anywhere be concerned with what's going on in Texas? I'm going to tell you why. My grandmother says this: if you allow yourself to be a rug, people will step on you. No one was paying attention to North Carolina in 2024. There were 7 Republican congresspeople. There were 7 Democratic congresspeople. Guess what? The Republicans rigged the game in North Carolina, and they took 3 seats. I'm going to say this one more again. That's Ebonics for those of y'all who don't speak it. They took 3 seats. Congress has a 3 Republican majority. Ding, 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 ding. So we weren't paying attention to what was going on in North Carolina. And look what we have. We got that big, ugly, terrible bill shoved down our throats. So guess what? I was paying attention. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Texas will not be North Carolina. We will not give him what we need. And we're marching. We ain't fleeing. We're fighting, and we are so incredibly thankful that the governor has hosted us, because we need allies.
The governor she's referring to is the governor of Illinois, and the governor of New York. This is how serious it's gotten, people. As she showed you the math, 3-seat majority, stolen North Carolina. They want 5 seats in Texas. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has been unapologetic and said, if you do this, we have more people in California and we'll do the same damn thing. It's not what the founding fathers envisioned, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but understand, especially in Texas, especially in the Deep South, especially in African-American communities, how hard Black people have had to fight to get representation. And then, of course, you target the Black districts. And, Trump has this affinity, and I'm going to say it as a person of color. He can't stand people that look like me in no uncertain terms. He just can't, especially if they're educated, especially if they have power, especially if they stand up to him. And so Miss Jones there is speaking with a lot of passion, a lot of power, because she has to. She has to. And this is literally just the next sheet in a playbook to create in what I'm calling, and people may think I'm crazy, this is an attempt at minority rule over the majority around the country. This is Apartheid 2.0 that they're trying to create, because when you look at the ideas and everything that's happening and everything that's being strung together, if you look historically at what happened in South Africa, this, that, and the other, these are the type of moments that lead to that, where the country didn't want the big blue, the big beautiful bill, but you got it anyway. Why? Because, like she said, North Carolina, they stole seats, this, that, and the other. This is not how the system was supposed to be. It's not. So I just want to highlight how important what is going on in Texas right now, because if it does not stop in Texas, what's to say it's not going to happen in your state? That's the issue. If anything pops up during the week, I will not hesitate to go live to give you basically a breakdown of why you should care about it, what it means to us both here, now, and in the future. Thanks for joining us this week. Bobby Jones for Anchor Watch, and stay anchored and stay sharp.